Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Outskirts Overland. Appreciate everybody being here and hopefully get you guys all online here shortly, get things going. Tonight I got a few things lined up. As usual, we're going to be talking about a few things on the docket today and then a couple pieces of gear that I'm looking at and we'll go from there. So hopefully get a couple people on, gets a chat going, and some good conversation ensues within. So as I wait for a couple of people to get on, um, I did go camping last weekend and had a good time. Just one night. I know I said I hate doing one night, but I did do just one night, and it was all right. The weather held out really nice. It was really warm during the day and nice during the night, so that was awesome. I really liked that. Um, but just really sat around and really just sat around and hung out. So it was pretty chill, nothing crazy. Um, this is week 4. I just updated it. I almost always forget to update the stream to say what actual week it is. It's week 4. I just updated it. Look at it in a second. It'll be right. I mean, if you guys know it, like I'm faking it till I make it to the max. So it's just yeah, it's a as I try to get the technology figured out, the countdown was nice this time. All of these things, I'm trying to get it going. So, anyways, doesn't matter. Um, so as everything starts to kind of mesh in, it's going to take me some time. Even leveling my sound and stuff. I listened last week; it was a little off. Stuff is super complicated. I am a car guy. I am not a freaking. This is not me. I'm trying to do the best I can for you guys, and it is just tough. It's just super tough. So making sure everything's going here. I don't know if I'm working on Facebook right now, but we'll see. Anyways, so I didn't take the family. It was just me and Ladina went camping. Spent a night. Somewhere, and then after that we just came home Sunday. We went about an hour away. Nothing crazy. Pretty chill. Um, didn't have too much do. Didn't have anything crazy going on. Hey, Jason, good to see you too. So it's all chill. Like it was all super chill. Uh, yeah, I enjoyed it greatly. So, anyways, this week gonna start hopping into things as people come on. And first thing I want to talk about this week is be prepared with things that you might need. So as I talk about being prepared with things you might need, this weekend I got a notebook every week, by the way, guys. So if you guys always see me kind of looking, it's my notes. But we went camping this weekend and I took some notes and some things that I'm not taking that like we all think about preparing for like the big things like, tent, sleeping, water, food. But like I always am forgetting something. And I'm not talking like big overlanding gear or camping gear. Like on my thing right now is like a drying towel for dishes, a drying mat for dishes. Cause one thing that was previous is, and I've got some screen sharing to do here, but one thing that was previous for me was not doing dishes. Like I would just have dirty dishes. I'd wipe them with like wipes and then wash them when we got home. I recently got a collapsible sink, I guess, a collapsible sink tub to wash dishes in, fill it with water and a little soap. And I'll show you guys the soap here in a second to do my dishes at camp. So then I also am not having something else sitting something else to forget from the house to the truck because as I mentioned before, I like to keep the truck pretty well packed. So anyway, storage containers for leftovers, drying towel for dishes, and a drying mat for dishes to like set the dishes on something. So then the tailgate of my truck or the table isn't just all wet too. So those are a couple of things that I thought of. And as I talk about being prepared, we went and it was like 80 degrees in the day, but then in the night it got down in the high 40s, and Ladina only brought like a light hooded sweatshirt. So I do always keep blankets in my truck, but I would venture to say to anyone that's looking to get into this hobby, get a cheap coat and like that's your truck coat. Like have that thing in your truck all the time. Extra pair of socks, probably an extra pair of crappy shoes, even like so you could have dry shoes, clean socks, and a coat. Just because that's going to allow you to kind of forget something and still always be prepared. Because being prepared is probably that could just make for a bad trip. Like I feel like we went to bed earlier because she was cold and not very comfortable. And not that that's a negative at all. Like we were just chilling, so it wasn't a big deal whatsoever. Like to do that, but that's just one thing that like it can make it a little better. Like again, I've been doing this a super long time. Like going to bed was not a problem with me. Literally set up her hammock. We read a book. We ate outside. It wasn't any like big epic adventure, honestly. Pretty chill, but nothing crazy. So as I talk about being prepared, and I mentioned to you guys being prepared, one of the biggest things I want to bring up, and as you have power needs, and say you're leaving a door open for a long time, your dome lights going, something that I think is extremely important to have on deck is one of these. So I'm bringing it up. It's a Noco Boost, and I talk about a lot of products, so you guys can call me the product guy if you want to or whatever. But like, so the Noco Boost is just what I have, but any type of um wireless jump starter is something that I find to be super useful. Also, I've been in the back country and came up on some people that were broke down that I wasn't real thrilled about coming up on. And I really also liked not having my truck hooked up to their truck. I kind of was like, if this gets sketch, all I'm losing is this $90 thing and I'm getting the hell out of here. But I didn't have to have my stuff hooked up and like leave my door open for a long time. But I still was helping folks out. I'm always staying vigilant. I'm not complacent. So I've used it on other people's rigs. I've used it on my own rig. It is a super nice thing to have, and you really can't screw it up. So you don't have to worry about like, oh, I hooked it up wrong. Like you can't hook it up wrong because you're not hooking to another battery. So super sweet thing to have as far as being prepared. What's up, Benji? How are you? Thank you for joining us this evening. I appreciate your presence here. For those of you that don't know, Benji is Newfound Overland. He starts his thing. 4-4 is his first podcast. I think he might do some streaming. I'll probably have him on here with me at some point when I start bringing people on. So, anyways, hey, Benji. So, as far as being prepared, I talk a lot about first things you should be getting, and this is something that you can charge and just put in your truck, car, whatever. If you're somebody watching, you have a teenage daughter, like super good thing to have. You don't ever want to be in a situation where they're in a dark parking lot and their car won't run and they're having to ask strangers to jump them. So again, just being prepared. It's got multiple uses. I really like this thing, and in my opinion, it applies to everyone that's looking to go off the beaten path, just to make sure you can get home. Super nice thing to have. Again, you can get nice batteries with jumpstart capabilities and stuff, but they cost a lot more than 99 bucks, and this will do it for you. So that's the Noco. I know there's a bunch of different brands of that thing. Um, but I do like that one. That's the one I have. It seems to be like a well-known one on, when you search on YouTube and stuff. So I really like that thing. So next thing that I wanted to bring up as I talk about being prepared, and I talked about soap. So I was talking about soap and using soap. So one of the things that I like that I want to make sure that I'm cultivating here is like we're being environmentally friendly for the waste we're putting out. Like obviously you want to pick up your campsite, you want to tread lightly, you want to do a bunch of good things. um, you want to make sure that you're that you're caring about those things. But like when I do dishes and there's like leftover food stuff, like I am throwing that out in the wilderness. Well, with that, you want to make sure that you're using, biodegradable soap. If you're washing dishes um, or you're using anything that you're going to put back into the ground, wipes, anything like that, toilet paper, like be real careful about the stuff you get so that you know it's going to be environmentally friendly. So I'm going to bring this soap on the screen. This is Camp Suds. I have used this ever since. It suds up really well with like just a little pinch of stuff on it. I have probably like four things of this in my deck system. It's super great. I wash clothes with it even. I have like a little, not little, it's like a husky closed container. I'll fill it with water, put some of that in it, shake my clothes, hang them out to dry. I use this a lot. I actually washed my clothes with this when I was deployed in Afghanistan. So it's been around a long time. Again, I'm a big proponent of REI. You can get it at REI all day, every day. Sea to Summit makes one that costs about twice as much for half as much. I have literally used this stuff for, I guess, 18 years. As long as I've been doing this, I've been using this soap. Great. It's biodegradable. You can always use it. Um, Even if you were to like go wash in a lake or something, like it is environmentally friendly. It's going to be something you can always get down with. So that's Camp Suds, something I really like, something I use a lot. I do dishes with that, wash my body with it, wash my clothes with it. It's just something that we always use. Wash your hands with it after you've handled food. So yeah, Jason said my wife makes homemade soap that we use for clothes and dishes. And yeah, I make homemade like again, if you're into this hobby, you have a little bit of that. You have a little bit of that granola in you, you know what I mean? So with that, you want to make sure that you're taking care of the environment appropriately. I make my own laundry detergents and things, but that liquid is better. That one I just showed you guys is better than anything I could make. And liquid soaps, if your wife makes soaps, Jason, liquid soaps are far less good, far less healthy than like the powdered ones. Like when I make my powdered laundry detergent and stuff. And then when you have a bar soap, like you make soap and use it like a barred soap, that's something I don't want to be dealing with having to dry out when I'm camping. I like having the liquid. And that one's been proven for me. So I really, really like it. So really happy to have that. Um, so that's just something that I like to use as well. As far as being prepared, continue to talk about being prepared. And then back on the subject of like, cleanliness, hygiene, making sure you're warm and dry and things of that nature. I think it's really good to make sure that you're also taking, like a lot of means of like ways to stay as sanitary as possible. So so I also carry like microban with me, and this will apply to like everybody that's ever done this before. And dude, I hope Benji's still on here because Benji talked about his fridge being gross the other month ago. But I keep microban with me, and it's like a sprayable disinfectant spray. It's like alcohol based. But like if any of you guys have ever had an issue with something breaking in your cooler, or anything like that and your cooler gets moist and it gets nasty, like I carry microban in my truck like it's a sprayable aerosol so I can clean up those messes because those messes for sure happen. And that's something that like you don't think about it like, oh, I'm taking a household cleaner camping with me. It's by far not a household cleaner, it's a disinfectant. I'm not a fan of using any Clorox brand products, just again for health reasons. So I get microban and I can spray that in my fridge. If I spilled a bunch of, you know, raw meat juice on something, I can clean it off because that is stuff that does happen quite frequently, actually. Bunch of eggs break in your thing, and now you got freaking eggs everywhere. This stuff happens. Like that stuff happens. It's gonna happen. And then that brings me to my next point. Um, and we talked about bringing stuff for leftover food. Like there's a couple of things that I carry from time to time. We have reusable plastic bags. They're called stashers. Super popular in camping, backpacking. Stashers are reusable, thick Ziploc bags. We bring Ziploc bags, but I'm looking to probably get some type of like collapsible Tupperware. And I'll put that on my gear that's on my radar when I find it. That's not something I looked for this week for that segment of the stream. But if I find something like that, I'll definitely let you guys know because I do think that's something that'll be useful to you all. Like something that packs easy, that you could dry out easy, that could expand potentially if that exists. If not, second $1 million idea I've given on this stream that somebody else can run with because I'm not that motivated. But like a collapsible Tupperware of some type, or maybe I don't know, I'll figure it out myself. Something jerry rig something and then figure it out and sell it to somebody, whatever. Not really, I'm kidding. Um, so that was something that I feel like is something that my setup is lacking. Super cheap thing, probably, maybe, I don't know, but it's something that's necessary. When I go with just Ladina, we I eat a lot, but like I still always make too much. Like so we almost have food for Sunday when we come home, Monday whenever we come home. But when you're in that fridge and you're opening and closing that fridge, it gets condensation. So having something to put it in would be clutch. But I don't want like heavy, bulky glass that I got to carry or fill my fridge with when we're leaving and it's not full. Like I don't want to have this weird conundrum. Like conundrum's not even the word, but like this weird compilation of crap. So, anyways, somebody asked if that microban would get rid of the stank in your fridge. I mean, this doesn't not go along with being prepared. If you have a fridge or a cooler and you get back from a trip, you need to clean it out and open it up and let it air dry. All fridges are supposed to seal and they're real susceptible to mold. So get your fridge open, let it air dry. Now, if you haven't done that, which is probably why you're asking that question, that microban will work. Use the microban pretty liberally. Spray in there. If you got a fridge, it's got seals around the doors. They pull out. Clean those off just like you would clean off the seal on the inside of like a Yeti cup lid. Make sure you're not introducing mold or bacteria to the food that you're camping with. Like still make sure we're keeping health safety at in mind as well. You don't want to be just buying all this cool stuff and then not maintaining it, and that's what I've actually been told from this stream is that more than being the tech guy or the automotive guy, like I'm really the maintenance guy, gear maintenance guy. A lot of people have told me they've learned more about gear maintenance, and that's really why I got this screen share working so I can teach you guys more about gear maintenance. Keeping up with your tent, keeping up with different pieces of gear to make sure it lasts you a long time, because coming from the backpacking world and the military world, like it is super important that you don't want to spend a lot of money and then that money you spent fails you, because you didn't take care of your gear, you didn't buy good gear, you didn't have somebody like me with experience to kind of lead you in the right direction. So gear maintenance is huge. Like nothing is the buy once cry once only applies if you take care of the stuff that was expensive that you bought once. So like nothing's foolproof, like you can't run a car forever, even if it's a Toyota Camry, without changing the oil and changing the brakes. Like it still does require some amount of care. Everything does. So make sure that you're paying attention to that stuff. All right. So the next thing I have today is I brought it up a little bit, getting ready for spring camping, and I want to talk about bug proofing your camp. So I'm going to start off with a couple of different things for bug proofing your camp. The first one's going to be a thermocell, which I think is a must-have. So, and if you don't have an awning, I'm going to explain this with an awning because an awning kind of puts a roof on how this thing works, so it can work well under your awning. Any type of cover, it will work. Now, they make a thermocell in two versions. They make a butane. They make a butane version and they make an electric version. I have the butane version. I am going to the electric version because the butane version puts off a little bit of a smell, and the way the butane goes in it, you can't see the cartridge. So I never know when it runs out, actually. Like it doesn't, it gives you no notice. Where the electric one kind of has like notifications of battery power and like if it needs refilled. So it's a little bit easier to maintain. I don't know if it costs more or not. These things aren't cheap. They work freaking killer. So, and these actually Thermacells only good for mosquitoes. So they only work for mosquitoes. I actually got this from hunting. Here, let me scroll down a little bit for you guys. I only got this for hunting. And it's a rechargeable Thermacell. It's a mosquito repeller. It works great. I have loved mine. I have forgotten it at times, and people are like, "Do you have your mosquito thing?" So mosquito thing's great. If you are somebody that's worried about other bugs, so like Johnny said, I hate flies. If you're worried about other bugs, I have something for that too. So that is Sawyer permethrin. Permethrin is something that I have used since I was in the military to keep things away. So permethrin, if you're a ground tenter, is a must. If you sleep on the ground and you're not treating your tent with permethrin, you don't know a better life. In the exterior, I wouldn't put this on the interior of anything. Exterior clothes, shoes, shirts. I wouldn't put this on anything that's going to touch your skin necessarily. The benefit of this stuff is you can spray it on and wash your clothes still, and it'll last through like four or five watch, four or five, 4 or 5 washes. Permethrin is not food safe, so I wouldn't put it on any. Yeah, don't put it on any food, but it's good for your clothes. Like in it, this stuff will do. This stuff will work for ticks as well, like ticks and sand fleas and all kinds of different things. So it's super helpful in that. It's also pet safe. So if you take your dog out a bunch, I mean, obviously frontline, like there's more common industry things, they'll work. But this stuff, it has been a staple of mine. I treated all my clothes in it when I was in the military. When I backpacked, I treated all my clothes in it. I found even when I was overseas, scorpions weren't real fond of it, and that's an issue. Like, and that might be an issue. I was in Southern California in the desert, Arizona, New Mexico. There's scorpions. It's real. Like that's really real. I sprayed it on my shoes just because I never really wanted to get. I never wanted to get stabbed by a scorpion, and I never did. But I knew I had friends that did, and so do I know if this worked or not? I don't know, but I never got stabbed, and they did. So I haven't had as many ticks on me with this stuff. You know, bug proofing your camp as well. I will bring up, get some type of light technical pants. Like I have pants that have like vents in the crotch in different areas and stuff, but like pants are huge. If you're in a place that's heavy on bugs, plants excuse me, plants, Jesus. Pants are a big deal. So if you're wearing shorts, you're more likely to get bit up. If you've got Sawyer on your shoes and your socks, this permethrin, and you're using a Thermacell, you're less likely to get bit up. I can't say 100%, but you're far better off than the rest of the world. Also, something I learned from one of my friends: I don't want to put any chemicals on my skin like DEET or anything, but you can spray bug spray. You could spray bug spray on the ground around your chair and stuff too, and that'll help. Like on the grass, that'll be super helpful. But this permethrin is safe, is human safe. You can also spray this on your camp chairs. You can spray it on hats. You spray. I mean, you gotta let it dry. It's not like a bug spray where you're doing it at the time. It's pre-treated. But if you're in a ground tent and you're not treating your tent with this, like you are missing out. This is a huge hack if you're on the ground in a tent. Enormous hack. You won't have bugs coming in your stuff, period. They will not be coming in your stuff. It is huge to treat your tent with it if you're a ground tenter. Beyond needed. So that helps you with bugs. Earlier last week, I'm gonna cut off of this. Last week, I also covered lighting. So lighting is also big when you're dealing with bugs. I'm going all to red lights in my truck, but you could do yellow or orange as well. Those will work great. But light attracts bugs. That includes fire. So just know that. Um, even this last weekend, bugs were starting. I mean, I got bit a couple of times. Bugs were starting to come out. um, you're definitely gonna end up with that being a huge issue. I think that summer's coming earlier this year. It's warmer this year. And just I I think bugs are going to be a big deal this year. If you didn't know, cicadas are coming back this year, so that's going to be super freaking annoying too. So, also before I take a drink tonight, is energy drink of choice is Blue Raz. I went with Blue Raz. Everybody, that's like my nickname. Everybody calls me Raz. My last name's Rasanowski. So it's fitting. I like it. It's blueberry flavored. I enjoy it. But I think bugs overall are going to be a big deal this year in 2024 with the cicadas and everything else. I think bugs are going to be huge. So just make sure you're paying attention to what kind of lights you're using. That permethrin is huge, the Sawyer permethrin. Um, Make sure you're paying attention to getting a thermocell. I think no matter what kind of thermocell you get, a thermocell is a great thing to have, whether you're a hunter in a tree stand, deer don't smell it, whether you're a camper, whether you're on a patio, like it works way better than any citronella I've ever used. So just, I mean, it's a great thing to have. I think they're a little expensive. Like my opinion is they're a little expensive for what they are, but it's because they actually just work that well. So on to the part where I actually had some people buy some stuff that I showed on the gear that's on my radar. So this is my favorite is gear that's on my radar because some of this stuff is stuff I have like already a different one of. So I'm going to live vicariously through those of you that buy these things because these are things that in some cases I have them and in some cases I don't. This week, I don't. So these are not things that I have. And they're things that I either came out after I bought the thing that fits this, they just came out, or I didn't know about them. So the gear that's on my radar this week, none of it's Tacoma specific like last week. Last week was Tacoma specific. This week's not. So the first thing is going to be this camp stove. It's called a Peak. It's by Coleman. So it's a super cool Coleman camp stove. It's really thin, which I like, and it's 2 burner. It's really well made, and it's got, and I'll get on the side here. It's got wind blockers in it. So it has wind protection within it, which I freaking love. It has rotary ignition as well, like whatever. But I really like it. Also, it comes with a little case. But to me, the reason that I like this is this just seems like it's made for a drawer. This thing's made for a drawer. Like if you were going to build some drawers, that thing you could build that in a drawer. It looks good. It's got wind protection. I think it's freaking sweet. They have these at REI too. That's where I saw it. Actually, I saw it the first time I saw it was Drew Sims, who's on YouTube. He lived out of his Jeep for like a bunch of years. He's a photographer. He had one and it fit on his Jeep fold out table. And I thought it was freaking sick. I never found it anywhere. And I ended up buying the Jetboil Genesis, the whole kit thing. It works for me. So I'll never own one of these, but I think it looks super good. I've touched it. It's good quality. It's real thin. So if you're somebody that needs something really thin, like my Genesis is tall, but it's little, the Jetboil. But if you needed something real thin, it'd be great. And you said, wow, Jason said, wow, that's expensive. Yes. As far as stoves are concerned, I talked about it in my very first stream. If you want to go back, okay, this is a hot topic, Jason. But like, I've had cheap stoves, and they failed me. Like different types of fuels, different brands, quality of products. Like I've actually had camp stoves fail me. Period. And I'll tell you, there's nothing that pisses me off more than not being able to cook food that I brought. Like, what do you do then? I like dehydrated meals, but I don't want to have planned bacon and eggs and not be able to cook. Um, this is a great quality stove. I had a Camp Chef previously when I had a larger stove, but the Camp Chef was not cheap either. My Jetboil Genesis, not cheap either. I would spend the money on a good piece of equipment for a stove if you want to cook with if you want to cook on one. I'd spend the money. I think scottles are great too. I'm not a scottle guy, but a Tembo Tusk scottle's $100 more than this Peak one is. But again, But again, I think with stoves, in a lot of cases, you are paying for what you're getting. You can get a Coleman stove for 30 or 40 bucks, and people will talk about how it works for them, and that's great. But I don't, man. Um, yeah, and 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 this one I don't think is fancy either, Jason. Like he said, I've got an old Coleman. I have an old Coleman. I don't want something that's finicky to get going and has issues like certain burners get like I've seen two burner stoves where like the burner closest to the propane gets like hotter than the other one. Like not for me. I don't like to cook. I'm not interested in being there for very long. I, good pieces of equipment is super worth it to me. If they're not worth it to you, that's fine. If you do it over fire, also fine. Not my jam. I think this is a great skinny profile stove. Yeah, your wife hates using it, which again, go back to episode 2. I talk about making it comfortable for your spouse. Also super important. Any man, woman, or child can figure out how to use that stove that I'm showing you on the screen right now. So super worth it. It's propane. It's great. Good quality. Highly recommend that stove. So next thing I got, and this thing's pretty cool. This is a BioLite, like tiny little solar panel, but it's got a battery in it. Now, the reason I bring this up is this is something that I could have used because the amount of times that everybody's cell phone is going dead on us is like every time. And I carry a lot of power, so I'll charge everybody's cell phone, but then my stuff's left dead too. This is a little solar panel with a battery in it. So you could charge just the battery on the back of the solar panel. Here, I'll scroll for you guys. But see, it's got a little battery here on the back of the panel. And this thing is tiny. Like, look at that hand. I saw this thing at REI and was like, man, I could use that a lot. So I wouldn't, you're not gonna power anything with it, but just for charging up like USB lights and fans and stuff, I think that thing is the bee's knees. Um, and it's 99 bucks. I've seen them way cheaper online, like 60 bucks, 50 bucks. You could find it, but I think that thing is great. Um, it seems like it's a good quality solar panel in it and just for like your phones, like just for phones, or if you have like rechargeable lights or something, that'd be a great piece of equipment. Right now, I have like a big block, like a big power block, not big, but like I think you guys all know what I'm talking about, like power bank thing. But I couldn't recharge it. Like I think that thing's better than that, and I think my big power block was more than that. So that's probably something I'll be buying. Is that solar dealy do here? Really like that. Yeah, Jason used solar on the homestead. Yeah, I use a lot of solar. I just don't like eating up USB ports for cell phones that use 3 watts. Like I hate that. Like I'm wasting a port, in my opinion. So it's not like worth it to me. So that's a second thing. Third thing is Hardcore lights. So Hardcore is a light brand. They just got to the US. They are from Australia, but I really like this Hardcore light. You can see it here used in a safety application. They're just little lights that they're rechargeable. They do orange and white, but they have a magnet on the back and they have a little elastic band on them too. I have seen these used a bunch. They're magnetized though, so if we can go up here, you see them magneted to this guy's thing. They also have little you'll see it here, little what do you call them here? Like bungees to hang them on stuff. You can buy them in a pack of 4. They're 29 bucks a piece. They're actually like super duper nice. I've seen them in person on other people's stuff. You could only get them from Australia until now. They're in the US now. But like look at this, just put it on your hood. Like super multi-use. I really like them. I don't have them. I probably never will have them because I have something else that does this. But had this been around, I would have loved it. Rechargeable. Reminds me a lot of Claymore products, but quite, kind of a lot cheaper than Claymore stuff. So I think that's. And did I go out? No, I'm there. Yeah, I'm there. Okay. Yes. So Johnny asked, is that what Grant has? Yes, that is what Grant has. And Grant got them from Australia. But they make a number of stuff. I would recommend looking at Hardcore. They have some pretty affordable options for LED. So I would definitely get in on that. If I was you guys, I think they make great stuff. I've seen the stuff again, as mentioned by Johnny. I've seen this stuff in person. Super good stuff, and I would recommend it to anybody. All right, so I'm gonna get off screen share here. So those are the products. Those are some things I was talking about. I've gotten past the point where I'm gonna just stop jabbing my jaw here, and we will get to you guys. So I'll put the chat up here, and your guys' new comments will go here too. Last week we didn't get into too much, but I want to, again, every week I'm gonna go over what I want to go over, kind of pretty give you guys the information I prepared for the week. I'm gonna open up the chat. Chat's open for you guys now. To ask questions, talk amongst yourself. Tyson asks, who's new this week? I think Jason's new this week for sure. See who else we got that's new this week. I mean, Benji's kind of new this week. Benji's not new, but Benji's new this week. Yeah, I think that's about it. We don't have anybody too new this week, at least from what I can see. Now, again, there's people watching that aren't chatting, so I don't know who all's new this week. But either way, welcome welcome. Happy to have you here. Super psyched to have anybody here ever. Um, so that awesome. One thing I wanted to get into a little bit's hot topic. I'm a Toyota guy. I mean, I'm not a Toyota guy. I'm like an everything guy, but I drive a Toyota. Let's talk about this new let's talk about this new Tacoma. So Tyson kind of brought it up a little bit to me, got me thinking. I was watching TFL the other day and they broke the transfer case on the new Tacoma on the ice. I was like, what in the world? Again, early production number. I have a third gen Tacoma. It's well known the 16s were riddled with problems, so I don't doubt that the 24s will as well. And I don't think that's a negative. I think they'll find out weak points. They'll fix them. Those will be warranty claims. They'll get fixed. I don't think it's a negative. But the new Tacoma is definitely the new Tacoma is definitely something where it's more like a forerunner. So it's got a pan hard bar across the back and springs. So it's no longer a leaf spring solid axled vehicle anymore. So it's a little different. But I just don't know what I think about it. So I'll probably talk about it a little bit. Tyson just said they already got a couple recalls. That's expected. Brand new truck. So yeah, rear axle shafts are having issues on the brand new Tacoma. Transfer cases are having issues. Jason said, I had a question about your camper shell. Does it work for a first gen Tacoma? My camper shell, my specific camper shell, you can get a version of it for a first gen Tacoma. You can get a version of it's an ARE Overland camper shell, and ARE makes a bunch of camper shells that'll work for the first gen Tacoma. I don't know that my specific camper shell would work on a first gen Tacoma, but you can get a camper shell for a first gen Tacoma all day, every day. Facebook Marketplace, that for sure. You can find one. But I I would highly recommend a camper shell over like a hard camper shell over a soft camper shell. I looked at that extensively in the yep. Somebody just said it. Did you ever consider a soft topper? I'm already talking about it. Yes, I did. Best Top makes one. Bunch of companies make them. I would never get a soft. So yeah, my ARE Overland, I bought my truck with it on it. I actually shopped for a Tacoma / Frontier. I was between a Tacoma, a Frontier, and a Colorado ZR2 when I bought my Tacoma. And I was actually just looking for whatever one I could find the most kind of somewhat already built. And my truck already had both Prensu racks and the shell on it. And a shell, something I really wanted, something I was looking for in a truck. So I like the camper shell. I think that camper shell is like $3,000, a little more than $3,000. But the soft toppers are still $800,000, like $900,000, and they wear super bad. The Velcro's been failing. I've seen Velcro fail on them. They have no weight bearing capacity. They're not waterproof. They're not dust proof. So, like, to be completely honest, Diamondback makes a bed cover, and you could put a rack on top of the Diamondback cover, and that would at least keep your stuff dry. If you were looking to do that, I'm not a fan of bed racks. I had a bed rack on my Titan. Everything is dirty, everything is dusty. Not a fan of a bed rack, not a fan of a soft topper, but a hard um, cover, waterproof cover for the bed of the truck, and then put like a whatever rack you want to put, half rack on top of that. I just know Diamondback makes a completely waterproof cover that you can also put a rack on, like it's weight bearing, appropriate. Um, yeah, the hard shell is cool. I'm be real honest with you guys, man. I have, I'm gonna again, I keep telling you guys we're going to go over my truck. I just got Instagram Live to accept me to go live on my phone. I'll go over my truck. Um, but man, I think Go Fast Camper is in my future. I think a Go Fast Camper is in my future. Actually, guys, I just do. I've been looking at it for so long. I didn't pay for the topper, the racks, anything on my Tacoma, so I'm not out that money. I didn't make those purchases. And I really think I'm gonna go fast camper. I don't know. Or well, Topo Topper or Super Pacific, whatever. Some that type of thing. I don't know yet though, because that's a hard pill to swallow. I don't know. I don't know. But man, I look at them a lot. And I know my girlfriend's on this right now going, my dad, hell, if my dad's watching, he's surprised I don't have one. So, a Go Fast camper is Jason. A Go Fast camper is essentially a metal topper, so it's kind of like an RSI Smart Cap, but with a tent included. So if you look up a Go Fast camper, it's a camper shell essentially, but with a wedge style tent in it, like included, kind of like conclusive. I looked at four wheel campers a lot too. The M1, spent a lot of time looking at those. I think something like that's in my future. The idea of being able to sit inside um, and chill, it does appeal to me a lot. And that might lead me to change everything. I don't know. I'm just talking to you guys like I would talk to her right now, like get rid of the deck system and do drawers and a sink. I don't even know. Anyways, but right now I have what I have, and I'm more than grateful for it. It's beyond my wildest dreams of what I thought I'd ever have. Um, so clearly, like awesome. Um, Let me get back here to a couple things. Somebody was asking about second gen 4.0 Tacomas. I had a second gen Tacoma and liked it better than my third gen. Again, I talked about it in an earlier stream. I had a loan on my full size. I couldn't find a low enough mileage second gen, or I'd have a second gen. Again, I just have a TRD off road or SR5 second gen, but I could not find one with low enough miles that made it work for like trading and loans and stuff. So I got a third gen. Mine had like no miles on it, so that's what I got. I loved my second gen Tacoma actually. So I also liked my Titan. So I had a Titan. So I went from a Tacoma to a Titan, newer Titan. It was a 2019 Titan Pro 4X, and I loved my Titan. It was extremely comfortable, lots of room, like just awesome. It was lifted 3 inches. I had methods on it. I had grabber, AT grabber, what are they? General grabber ATXs on it, 35s. I liked that truck a lot. It just was not going to happen on trails. It's too wide. It was just too wide, but I loved it. It had great power. It was tuned. It had some stuff done to it. It had a rack on the back, a rooftop tent. I liked that truck a lot. I really, really liked that truck. But it was just too big. And I really would have liked to get into a new frontier. A new frontier was something I was very excited about. But one thing I told myself is that if I got into another truck, it was going to have a strong aftermarket, because my Titan, literally all the cool stuff it had, I built. Like I fabricated it and welded it and made it and did all the measuring and angles and headaches. From my frame sliders, I built my rack. I built my anything on the inside, Molly, anything. I built it, all of it, and it was exhausting. So I didn't want to do that again. Line Break said tuned. tuning, like ECU tuned. So the computer was tuned to effectively help with like shift points, exhaust braking, different tow modes, power modes, throttle modes. My Tacoma's also tuned. Yeah. So yeah, these new vehicles, and Jason, you're 100% correct. New vehicles will cost you an arm and a leg. I bought my Tacoma. It was not crazy when I bought it. It's an SR5. It was not nuts. My Titan was not nuts either. I did not pay a lot for my Titan. Quite frankly, this 60, $70,000 new vehicle stuff is exactly why I'll be in my Tacoma for, because that's what I have and that's what I guess I could afford something more expensive, but I do not want to at all. Like I don't want to do that. I foresee myself going back to the 90s in my next, like once I pay this truck off, keeping it for what it is and going back to the early 2000s or 90s, something a little more classic to drive on a daily basis. I just don't see myself keeping up with the Joneses here. Yeah, Tyson just said the new TRD Pro's 90 grand. That's just not going to happen for me. That's not something that I could feasibly do. It's insanity. Yeah, the Tundra. But I mean, the Sequoia, I really like the Sequoia. And there's tons of vehicles, like growing up, you used to be like, they used to be within reach, you know? They're not anymore. Trucks, SUVs, like larger ones, not even close. Like it's just insanity. Like you can't do it. Like I, I hate it actually. Like, and then you're looking at used stuff and you're into this hobby and it's hard to find stuff that you can like, you've got to learn them. So like I feel like this is my second Tacoma. So I feel like you got to get a platform, learn it, and then keep rebuying that used platform. So like Benji's on here. Benji has a third gen Forerunner, but it's his second third gen Forerunner, and now he knows that platform and how to fix it. And like I think that's what it's coming to in this hobby. You're gonna have to get mechanical to be in this hobby. Yeah. Yeah, you paid 2,000 for your 95 Tacoma and you love it. Yeah, dude, go go buy that 95 Tacoma for 2 grand now. I just saw like an 89 Tacoma for like 9 grand. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah, this is nuts. Yeah, this is nuts. Yeah, Benji just said his third gen Forerunner is 325,000 miles. I was just looking at a Land Cruiser today with like I don't even know what that, like 474,000 miles. And some of it had been rebuilt. I was like, yeah, that's just like the life I'm gonna live. Like that's just what it is. I'll keep putting oil in it, brake fluid in it, doing maintenance. I cannot afford a $90,000 truck to then tear apart, cut up, and rebuild how I want to. Like that's just not gonna happen. I mean, this is my freaking Mayflower. I'm going down with this ship that I got. It's all. I mean, that's just what it is. I can't afford nothing else, and that's probably where a lot of people are. I'm by no means a budget built guy, but like I just can't afford. I just can't afford to start again. This economy's crazy, and it's just not something that I could do feasibly whatsoever. So keep putting good oil in it and filters, and if you got grease fittings, keep greasing them. Keep taking care of your stuff, like because that's just what it is. Like you're gonna have to deal with it. Yeah. So somebody asked if you have a V8, Benji. I think Benji's got a 3.4. Actually, I'll let him answer that though, as most third gens do. The fourth gen is the one that had the V8, but is not the best looking one. I would love to have like one of those deep forest green third gens. X Overland actually has one. Man, I like that color. I really like that color. Um, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I thought. Third gens only had V6 and 4 cylinder. Jason just said he's got 377,000 miles on his Tacoma, and it'll run forever. He's his a 3.4. I was assuming it was. Um, so yeah, and Tacomas and Forerunners have had rear lockers in them since the 90s too, which a lot of other brands haven't done. So that's something to pay attention to too if you're into this hobby. Not everything has a rear locker, um, electric or otherwise. Nowadays, you could find a lot of like really popular. you could find a lot of really popular four-wheel drives with ARBs already put on them. Like, I look at Land Cruisers a lot. I just really wish I could afford it. I got a little FOMO there, jealousy. I'd love to have a Land Cruiser so bad, but I just can't afford one. But I look at them all the time. I'm sure everybody's got something like that that they look at all the time, whether it's a Porsche GT3 RS or something. I look at 200 series Land Cruisers. I have one. Just not something that I can afford. Like, that's a house. It's actually more than a house because the loan's not 30 years. So, so yeah. So Jason, I will on Instagram. I'll go live on Instagram and I'll go over my truck. I am. I don't want to like self proclaim myself as humble, but like my truck, I don't want anybody to have an opinion of me different from what they have watching me than by seeing my truck. Because I don't want to come off as that guy, but my truck is there's a lot going on. So I just don't want to. I don't want anybody to change their opinion of how I got into this started and made it all happen for myself based on what I currently have. None of you guys lived through all of the renditions of stuff that I had before, um, and saw me come up through it. But my truck is pretty nice. My truck's pretty nice. Um, there's really not many stones left unturned on my truck. But again, I came up through it without all of that really until my Titan was the first one I built, and I learned from that and different things. So yeah, Tyson said my taco's pretty bougie. I would agree. Like my truck is well built. Um, really for what I do with it. There's definitely some things to be I believe there's some things to be desired for somebody that off-roads way more. I definitely like do the camping overlanding way more. So my truck's way more suited for like that type of travel versus just purely off-roading. I'm not built very well for just off-roading. It does do fine off-road. But yeah, I put a lot of work into it, a lot of time into it, a lot of labor into it. Uh, but yeah, my truck is very, very done up. I'm hesitant to even show it, like to really go over it because even on the outside of it, it looks way less. Yeah. Tyson just said when he first met me, my Titan wasn't even built, and that was a couple years ago. My Titan, well, it had a deck system in it and a lift and 35s and methods and I guess seat covers and lights and stuff like that, but it was really not that built. And I was looking at things like I recommend to you guys go places, look at things people have to buy stuff. And I pretty much bought a bunch of stuff after I met Tyson and Chris, my friends from Arkansas. After I saw a bunch of other people's stuff is when I bought stuff. I was like, okay, well, this looks like this works and that works. I had a few things myself, but I just didn't know what worked and what didn't. And I was not going to I've worked in marketing before. I wasn't going to trust. I know how I sold stuff, so I wasn't going to bank on what other people were selling to um, dictate my decisions. So I wanted to see what like actual people were using and what was necessary and what wasn't, and then shop sales. But yeah, so I was in a ground tent. I ground tented for I guess 16 years of this 18 years I've been doing this. I was in a tent, like a regular tent. I was in a one person for a long time, Big Agnes, and then I got a 3 or 4 person Big Agnes, and that's what I was in when I met Tyson and them. And I had an awning for my truck, and yeah, I had all the stuff, a lot of camping stuff, water, different stuff, but nothing like I got going now. But yeah, everybody keeps bringing up my truck. People that have seen my truck keep wanting me to do stuff on my truck. Yeah, so Jason, let's talk about that. Jason just asked, tires are on my to-do list for the Tacoma. What do you recommend? Okay, so here is a great place where you cannot be stupid like I was. My Tacoma, I have had it since September of 22. Okay, just September of 22, I've had it. I have had 4 sets of tires on my Tacoma. I have made 3 mistakes on tires on my Tacoma, and what's on it now is what I would recommend. So I went from I went from Mickey Thompson, Baja Bosses. Yeah, and Tyson's a tire guy. My friend Tyson in here literally is a tire guy. So I'm not going to plug anybody by any means, but I know Tyson has buy three get one for $1 coming up at his place, and he's at Toyota Landers Toyota in Arkansas. So that's a super good deal. If that's really on your radar, you should get hooked up with Tyson. Like you guys should hook up somehow. I don't know what you guys are on, but yeah, Tyson just said exactly what I would tell you. I had Mickey Thompson Baja Bosses. I had Patagonia MTO2s. I had Mickey Thompson Baja Legends. And now I have Falcon Wild Peak AT3s. And I would literally not get a different tire than a Falcon Wild Peak AT3 or a Toyo Open Country AT. Period. If you're looking for an all-around tire, I also recommend 10-ply. That's highly criticized opinion, but I'd always get a 10-ply just for the fact, like, that's a peace of mind. They're heavier, but that's peace of mind. But I would highly recommend the Falcon Wild Peak AT4 now. I have AT3s. They don't make the AT3 anymore. They make the AT4. Highly, 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 highly um, recommend the Wild Peak. Benji had Wild Peak MTs. He has the AT3Ws now too. I mean, I can't tell you enough about how great that tire was. Now, I will tell you my Patagonia MTO2s that I had off road, they're like a cheat code. They were so good off road, but man, they were so crappy on road. But off road, they were awesome, and they were awesome for that. But for the type of stuff I do now, I don't wheel that much. I don't do a whole lot of that anymore. Um, so the Wild Peaks have been fantastic. I actually went all in. I have 5 of them. I have a full size spare wheel, everything. My whole set, I have 5. So they're guaranteed for 55,000 miles. Tons of people have 70,000 miles on that tire. Great tire. Wouldn't recommend anything else but the AT3W or the Toyo Open Country AT. I actually got a super smoking deal on the Falcons that I have. If I would have got a better deal on Toyos, I would have Toyos too. Both were highly recommended. So recommended. But yeah, the Falcon Wild Peak, even if it's a little bit outside your budget, I can tell you for a fact I have beat this tire up more than any other tire. AT4s, Falcon Wild Peak AT4s. Actually, Tyson, I just saw some AT3s locally at Plaza Tire where I'm at, so they're still around. So you might still find some older ones. And if you've got 16s, Jason, my Wild Peaks were actually really affordable in a 16-inch wheel. Super affordable. And I have 33s. So if you go with like a 265/70 or even a 245/70, I don't know what your Tacoma has on it, but they'll be more affordable yet on a 16-inch wheel. So, but they're a great tire. I love mine. Barely any road noise. Really good off road. Really, really good in the rain and the snow. Like so good in the rain and the snow. I haven't had a lot of fluctuations in pressures due to temperature. That was a big thing with all those mud tires I had. Like if it got real cold or real hot, they really increased temps or really increased pressures based on temps and decreased pressures based on temps. That's actually something that's really oddly something I love about the Wild Peaks. They don't have those huge 10 and 15 psi fluctuations like the mud tire, like the Mickeys and the Patagonias had, which is a super weird thing, but I love that because that's annoying. So anyways, I could go all day about that tire. We put new tires on my girlfriend's Cherokee. They're Falcons as well. So we're pretty bought into Falcons here, big time. So highly would recommend them. A lot of people recommend them as well on Toyotas, but I'd say you can't go wrong with those at all for an all around tire. So great tire. But yeah, Tyson would be the guy. He said it's a national deal to buy 3 get one for $1, but that's also a smoking deal. I paid all of my tires, of course I did, because I can't ever need stuff like that when sales are around. Colorado Highway Patrol got me for yeah. If your tires didn't have enough. That Wild Peak's got like 19 or 20, 30 seconds of tread new. I don't think I've burned any tread, and I've got like, I don't know, 20,000 miles on mine. Hell, Tyson's got 60,000 miles on his, and I think they still got like 10, 30 seconds of tread. Zigzag Zero said the Kenda RT. RTs are cool. Again, I had Baja Bosses. The what were the ones I had? I had an RT Baja, like a Baja Boss RT style, and I had a MT Mickey as well. RTs are fine. RTs just aren't going to do you as well in the water or the snow if you daily drive the vehicle. I think RTs are great. My buddy Dakota has RTs, Falcon Wild Peak RTs on his Forerunner, and he lived in Colorado, and he's been places that I would never dream to take my truck ever. But it also looks like he takes his Forerunner there too. So, but he does it, and those RTs have treated him well. I think RTs are a great option for a lot of people for off roading. So, yeah, and Chris just said he has Coopers now, and he used to have Wild Peaks. I mean, everybody's got a preference. I would go with the Wild Peaks personally if you're looking to not go too expensive. A lot of tire brands, like you can get similar tires and they're like astronomical. Like I think the Wild Peaks comparable to the KO2, and it's about $120 a tire cheaper. But for some reason that KO2 is just ridiculous. That'd be a good wrench. So, and I don't understand. I don't even think it's that good of a tire myself. I had them on previous trucks because they were like probably the best thing you could get at the time. But I didn't love them how they wore or anything. So, oh, does my watch have a display? Yeah, it's a Garmin dealy do. Yeah, it's a Garmin Phoenix 6, 5. I don't know. It's got a barometer and stuff. Another thing that I really wanted that I got this year, saved for and got refurbished from Garmin because I am poor. But yeah, my watch has a display. It's a Garmin Phoenix 6, I think 6 Pro or something like that. With I don't know. It has like battery for like I don't know, like 21 days or something battery. I wasn't ever gonna go with a yeah, I'm kind of techie. I mean, I guess I'm a tech guy. Stuff's just technological now. But yeah, I bought a lot of stuff and bought other stuff again because I bought the wrong thing the first time or learned more. Like tires. Tyson told me to get the tires I have now 3 sets of tires ago, so that's my own fault. That's just my own fault. That's my bad. That's $3,000 down the drain. That's my fault. I mean, and we don't even want to get into it. Anyways, when my girlfriend's on here, I'm sure, and she'll be like, yeah. And that's just done dumb things on impulse. I would not recommend it to any of you. So, any closing thoughts from anybody? We just hit the hour mark. I like to kind of be wrapping up here. If somebody's got something left, I'll touch on one more thing. We can be done. Still has the wood clock in the kitchen. Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, I live a little bit of a hybrid life between the technological world and old school. Like, yeah. So, well, if you need to get better at the tech world and you're interested in overlanding, I can help you out there for sure, for definite. I still haven't got on the 12-volt talk. There's a big talk about 12-volt coming. Still, my most popular questions are about 12-volt stuff, and all the people that ask me those questions like the posts of me going live, yet are not here. I'm still waiting to touch on all the 12-volt power stuff with you guys. I mean, I'm wiring power in the back of my truck like soon. That's a voltage meter and USB, a 12-volt, and a switch to turn it all on. I'm literally hardwiring that in my truck like soon. And they'll be super easy, but that's like something everybody could do off their starter battery and have your NOCO, like I said earlier, and make sure you don't kill it, but you could charge your stuff very easily. This was $10 on Amazon. Very, very simple. Switch, 3, ground, hot, like super easy stuff. I could teach everybody how to do something like this, like super easy. And you could have a 12-volt. It's got a voltmeter in this guy in the middle and 2 USBs. That'll handle most people's stuff. Anyways, but I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm really waiting on really waiting on a couple of these people that keep blowing me up about it. I keep telling them I'm not going to handle it on messages. Get on the stream and I will get the. I am not an electrician. I was an electrician previously. So I do know a little bit about that. I touch on that earlier in streams, but I've done solar setups on other vehicles too, like not overland vehicles, but like again, I mentioned I live close to University of Missouri and tailgate buses, and I have some friends that do ice cream. Like I've done different car inverters and electrical, you know, for a long, long time. Capacitors when I was into doing car audio stuff, and then I did commercial electrical like as a job. So I have a lot of experience. I wouldn't call myself an automotive electrician by any means, but I could call myself a decently educated hobbyist for sure. Um, Solar's a different world. 12 volt is a different world for sure. But it's simple. It is simple. Even just explaining watt hours to amp hours to you guys, I think would be useful to you guys so you could understand, all these power stations you get are watt hours. And what does that mean in amp hours? Because all your car batteries are amp hours and different types of batteries. I will really get into all this stuff. I really want these folks that keep asking me about it to hop on here. So I'm kind of gatekeeping that information from them because I don't want them to be able to listen to it later. They had a lot of questions that I want to answer here for you guys. So I'll get to that. But anyways, that'll be it for this week. On the bottom, I'm going to run my email address along the bottom here. It's Charlie at Outskirts Overland. And yes, it is. Electrical is confusing. It's convoluted. I said it in a previous stream. I will have a whiteboard or a piece of paper to show you guys, or I'll draw or I'll get it on screen share somehow on how to make that all work. There's really simple ways to make it work. There's really complex ways to make it work. But I am going to put my email on the bottom. It's Charlie at Outskirts Overland. Send me an email anytime. I'm Outskirts Overland on every platform: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of the things. I am Outskirts Overland on it all. You can find me as Outskirts Overland. I will be happy to continue to cultivate this community. I say it every week. Keep showing up and I'll keep answering your questions, talking about your guys' stuff, hopefully bringing new products to you, and keep trying to bring the knowledge out. I will. Again, everybody's blowing me up about the truck. I'll show you guys my truck, but I'm going to say this because people will listen later. I will do an Instagram live about my truck. Hell, I'll schedule it so you can all see it. If I do it live on my truck, if you have any questions about my truck, just ask them on Instagram. I am not here to talk about my truck. And although I know a lot of people like my truck, I do not want to talk about my truck. I want to talk about you guys. I want to talk about my experiences to help you guys. I don't want to talk about what I have, unless it's me talking about why. I got that thing this way because here's the mistakes I made. I'm happy to talk about that, but that's not going to apply to Toyota Tacoma stuff specifically. I can talk about more vague things. I will, but I'll do a live or a YouTube video. I'll go over my truck and we'll be done with it there. But ultimately, my friend Chris is getting a dual swing out steel bumper put on his brand new Lime Rush 4Runner right now, and it's super cool. And we should definitely do some walkarounds of my friends' rigs too at some point. We all have really different stuff, and we all still do the same thing. So I think that's also good. Like, there's a couple of us that are way more built out than others, but nobody's lacking by any means. So anyways, I will vow to you guys now, sometime in March, I'll do a truck walk around for you guys and go over the stuff I have in my truck and what's going on. So then everybody we can put that to bed. So, all right. Awesome. So guys, have a good week. Make sure I put content out on a regular basis. I put content out on a regular basis on Instagram and try to on Facebook. So if you guys are looking for anything, if you're trying to get a hold of me, Instagram's really the best place for my weekly content. I share other people's content that I follow in the industry as well. Newfound Overland again. Benji's on here. Follow Newfound Overland. He's about to start his new project, just like I started my new project here. I try to not coincide with his dates of doing things. His stuff comes out on Thursdays, and I try to get this out on Wednesdays, and this will be out in podcast form tonight. So awesome, guys. Have a good weekend. Have a good night, and I will see you all next week. Hope you have a good one. Later.